right, everybody, welcome back to Stinker Drinker Thinker. A fun Friday episode we got for you guys today with Elevating Your Home Bar, a little series that we've been putting out. Definitely enjoy your time here. Thank you very much for stopping by. Make sure you like, subscribe, drop a comment maybe on how you do some of this stuff too at home. We would love to hear it. I am your host, Anthony Longano. I'm joined by my two beautiful co-hosts, Troy the Body Bigliotti. Troy, say hello.
Hey, how are you?
Matt McKibble, everybody. Matt, say hello.
Howdy.
Cool. So this is a special one, and I'm sure some of you guys out there can relate to this. I personally am that guy, and I think Troy is to some extent. I mean, Troy is a bar manager, so I'd imagine he is.
But, I'm that guy.
But like when I have people over, instead of enjoying my time and like I tell everybody it's fun, guys. Here's the truth of it. This is not fun for me, but I will first and foremost, I am the asshole that will not let anyone pour their own drink. That's always been me. I've been known as the liquor police. I've been known as the alcohol enforcer. I've been known as the drunk driver. And I don't know if those are good things or bad things, but I am all of those things. If you're in my house, you're going to have a good time, and don't tell me you don't need alcohol to have a good time, because that's bullshit. I am that guy, and I'm always making somebody drinks. And over the years, I've gotten better and better at it. But a few months ago, Troy took a job where he was a bar manager. He is still that bar manager at Connor's Rooftop here in Fort Wayne. But he brought up something interesting, and I've always kind of scoffed at the idea of batching cocktails, right? And I think Troy, when he first kind of listed off the drink menu to me at this place, when he was kind of renovating it a little bit or redoing the bar menu a little bit, he was like, batch cocktails. I don't know. And I think the first time he actually tried one of the main batch cocktails over there, it was wrong. So he automatically thought that it was terrible. But you have people at your house. What's the main drink, especially whiskey drinkers? What's the main drink people are asking for? Old fashions, right? People go to the bar. It's like, oh,
Let me get a Pappy Old Fashioned.
yeah, let me get a Pappy. Someone actually asked you for a Pappy Old Fashioned. Yeah. But so like, you know, the idea of batching old fashions when you're having people over sounds fucking terrible as someone who actually like appreciates alcohol and likes making drinks and has a reputation for making drinks. But at the same time, I don't want to make 55 fucking old fashions. I want to enjoy my time. So I think today what we're going to do, and I've never batched a cocktail, but since you've started batching them at work, I think maybe you've learned to appreciate them a little bit more.
I definitely appreciate the idea of them. Yeah, absolutely. The main thing is, as long as you are not sacrificing the integrity of the drink, that is all that matters. If you can get away with it and you can serve more people more efficiently, more quickly, and have them, you know, have a good time, and in turn allow yourself to have a good time as well.
Yeah.
Then do it. But if you start to feel like something is going wrong, you know, within the batch, and it's not coming out like it would be if you're making yourself an individual drink, then reevaluate and then, you know, see what you need to adjust and take it from there.
That the whole idea of it, and you know, again, keeping the integrity of the drink, like that's
the most important thing.
Yeah, that's the only thing that's ever concerned me about it. In any place, like you all go to a high-end steakhouse and they're like, oh, we have our barrel-aged old fashioned, where it's like they have a fucking 10-liter oak barrel and they batch the old fashioned in it, and to me, it's every time I get it, it's never cold. Like, you know, it's just like,
so what do you actually? I mean, this is me. I've never made a cocktail before. So, what exactly do you batch? Like, do you batch every ingredient all together?
Yeah,
like, is it literally just you take the drink as simple as make it 40 times and put it into a jug, or is it a little more complicated than that?
It can be, yeah, and it depends on the style of drink that you're making. You know, we're talking about old fashions right now, and there's a few different ways that you can go about it. But for me, so you can essentially, like Anthony, what you're talking about, where you think the drink isn't ever cold when it comes out of a barrel and whatnot, and they just throw like an ice cube in there, it's very likely that they've accounted for the dilution by adding water to the batch.
Time out.
Yeah.
So like when you're batching the cocktail, sorry. So here's the scenario, right? And I want you to think about it from this perspective when you tell me how you would do this. You're at home, you know, it's not like you're at the bar, right? So like you're having 30 people come over and you want to make sure that they all have a couple old fashions, but you don't want to make 60 old fashions, right?
Yeah.
So you're going to batch enough for that. You're telling me that because typical old fashioned bitters, sugar, whiskey, right?
Uh-huh.
Like you add water to when you batch a cocktail?
You can. And here's the thing, especially with old fashions, and you're incorporating sugar, but whenever you're incorporating sugar, you are incorporating water because you're essentially either making a simple syrup on the fly to order if you're using like a sugar cube. If you're using a sugar cube, add like a splash of water. If you are using simple syrup, of course, that is equal parts sugar and water.
Right.
But what you're also doing when you are conventionally making an old fashioned for somebody is adding all of the ingredients to a mixing glass, adding ice,
Diluting.
stirring
While
for
making cold,
however
yeah.
long, 15, 20 seconds, whatever it is. And as a result, you are diluting in those moments. And a way to accelerate that process without ever needing to add ice to a mixing glass, or really ever even needing to incorporate a mixing glass into the equation at all, is by adding ideally filtered water into the batch.
Okay.
And I don't know if you guys remember, but thankfully I wrote this down as Raj was saying it when Raj was on our he did an episode with us, who's an acclaimed Fort Wayne bartender, and he gave me a couple percentages, and he said about 18% dilution for stirred cocktails and about closer to maybe 20% for shaken cocktails.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, I don't want to get too nitty gritty, but basically you can figure out the total amount of ounces and then figure out what 18% of that is, and then do that many ounces of water, and then you don't have to add ice.
And they come out about the same as a normal cocktail?
Well, I think that's what we're going to find out today.
Yeah,
because that's what I'm curious about. Is like,
yeah, I think
is
what we
it
should
that
do.
much better?
I think what we should do, and not for 30 people. I think we're gonna have you make a batch of old fashioned. We'll just do like a 750 of Elijah Craig or something, right?
Sure.
We'll have you make a batch of old fashions, and then I'll make an old fashioned.
Yeah.
And then maybe we'll A/B them.
Yeah.
And see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, see if it's gonna ruin the integrity of you making one fresh.
Even if it's 90 to 95% of the way there.
Yeah.
And it saves you hours. That's probably worth it.
Yeah, and I'll say for all intents and purposes, if I'm going to serve somebody an old fashioned that's batched in my house, I'm probably going to at least stir it real quick. For them.
Then that's what I 100% agree with you, because like you said, I want to make sure that they're getting a cold drink.
Yeah.
I want to make sure that...
And that pisses me off about bars that do batch it. If you're not going to stir it, I mean, I know you're accounting for dilution, but the drink needs to be cold.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So
I personally don't think it's enough to just add room temperature liquid into a glass that already has a large ice cube in it, and then stir that.
Yeah.
Because that's not going to be cold enough upon your first couple of sips. You're going to have to wait a few minutes, solid minutes before it's cold enough.
What's the solution then?
So for me, my solution is not adding water or diluting to the batch.
Okay.
Taking what I did batch, which for an old fashioned would be the whiskey, the sugar, the syrup, whatever, and the bitters, and batching all of that for however many people, and then straining it into some sort of bottle that you can easily pour that into a mixing glass, add your ice, stir.
2 1/4 ounces, probably 2 1/4 ounces to a mixing glass, stir, and then strain.
It'll probably end up being closer to, about 2 1/4.
Yeah, I mean, my old-fashioned ratio is a 1/4 ounce sugar and then 2 ounces of bourbon.
Yeah.
And would you ever get to a case where you batch everything without the alcohol, and then, because if someone wants that old-fashioned but with a different alcohol, like there's a different thing.
No, then you just make it fresh.
Make it
bar.
fresh.
Yeah, that's a good question, but at that point, you're
just making an old-fashioned.
You're making an old-fashioned,
Yeah.
Curious.
Well, Troy, let's do this, man. Why don't you go to the bar and batch an old-fashioned for us real quick?
Sure.
And then maybe talk us through what you're doing.
Yeah.
And then I'll hop in your seat. That way we can at least communicate with each other. And then after we get a batch, I'll make one and we'll just compare it.
Yeah.
Sound good?
And if we use the same ingredients, I think it'll be a good foundation for obviously you could, if you wanted to use different like a nice Demerara simple syrup or different kinds of bitters,
rich Demerara, and different bitters.
You could easily make a better old fashioned.
Listen, there's 1,000 ways.
This is just the concept of is a batch.
And I'm sure. I mean, I'm sure at some point on our channel, guys, you'll see like 16 different ways to make an old fashioned. Like there's plenty.
Yeah,
we should do that.
Yeah, we should do that. I honestly, I have about 4 that I would love. Single malt old fashions. I've really been thinking about one recently that I think would be awesome. But Anyway, let's hop to it, Troy. I'll get you your ingredients, then I'll hop in your seat, and then maybe you can walk us through what you're doing.
All right, cool.
Batch me an old fashioned.
Alrighty.
How do you make your old fashions?
All right. Well, first thing. Get a little Cambro in here. This one holds 12 quarts worth of liquid, which is pretty awesome. I am probably going to be using less than 1 quart, so this is definitely bigger than I need, but that's okay. I also need a jigger. So I've got bitters is what I'm going to use first here. Nice big old bottle of Angostura bitters. You could use, typically for the best old fashioned I could dream up, it's going to have a couple different kinds of bitters, but Angostura is, I would say, the most important one.
There is no plastic pour spout thing inside of there, so just be careful when you're pouring into the jigger.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my refill bottle.
I would have taken it off anyway.
Yep.
So there's some converting and calculating that I had to do to get to this point to figure out how much bitters you need. What I know is that I'm going to use 1 bottle of bourbon, 750 milliliters, which is about 25 and a half ounces of liquor. So I'm trying to figure out, okay, so how much bitters do I need? And if your old fashions get about 3 drops of bitters, like that's not a measurement. And it's funny because some people say, like, I read on a couple of websites for batching old fashions, like, I don't know, 15, 18 dashes of bitters. I'd like a little bit more precision personally.
Agreed.
So the bar that I'm working at has had an old fashioned recipe, and this is obviously, I'm doing way more here, 8 liters worth of bourbon to 4 ounces of bitters. So basically, I shrunk that way down to 1 bottle of bourbon, and I came up with just about a half ounce of bitters. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to pour a half ounce bitters.
It seems so low. For
It's bitters though, but you're dashing, man. Like it.
Yeah.
And these are
it is
so
weird.
concentrated too.
Yeah. When he told me the sugar ratio, I was almost shocked too. I mean, for a 750.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is funny because I saw another website that was saying to use only one ounce of sugar for a bottle, and I'm just like, that doesn't make any sense.
Well, they're probably diluting with water too, right? I'd imagine.
Yeah, but if they are, then it's even less sweet.
Yeah, that's true.
So
I really hate sweetness.
And my old fashions are also, in my opinion, a little bit less sweet than I've had elsewhere. Like I've had people who use half ounce for an old fashioned versus a quarter ounce, which is what I'm going to use.
Half ounce of sugar?
Half ounce of simple syrup, yeah.
So you're using half for this batch? So when I make mine, I'm using half.
No, you'd use half ounce?
No, I will.
Oh.
If
no, I'm using a quarter.
Okay.
Yeah. But I've seen other places do half.
It's too sweet for me, man.
Yeah.
We're bourbon lovers though. So.
Yeah.
Make it stiff.
All right, so half ounce bitters
That's
in
what
there.
she said.
And then simple syrup I've got pre-made.
Is that rich simple syrup or is that just regular?
This is particularly just a straight sugar, 1-to-1 sugar and water. Yeah.
And for those who don't know what rich syrups are, it's a 2-to-1 sugar ratio. So if you were doing a rich simple, it'd be 2 cups of granulated white sugar and 1 cup of water. It'd get you about 2 1/4 cups of syrup afterwards.
So we got that 750 milliliter bottle of bourbon, which I'm just going to pull up here just so I can refer to it. We're doing Elijah Craig small batch. 25 and a half ounces, give or take, in this bottle, which is just a number that you have to memorize eventually. And if I'm doing 2 ounces per drink, that means I am making approximately 12 and a half drinks out of what this is. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So if I'm doing that and I'm doing a 1/4 ounce of simple syrup per drink, I'm basically taking a 1/4 ounce of simple syrup and multiplying it by 12 and a half. Yeah. Which basically I came up with 3 1/4 ounces of simple syrup.
It just seems so low.
It seems insane. For
Yeah.
a bottle?
Yeah. But I mean, just think about it.
I mean,
a 1/4 ounce only goes so far.
Yeah, you're right. All right. So 3 1/4 ounce simple going in the Cambro.
Yep, 3 1/4 ounce. So 2. I'll do 3. One more. And a quarter. Voila.
And then, I mean, if you made a typical simple recipe, 1 cup sugar, 1 cup water, I mean, you basically didn't even use half of that simple syrup, right? So for that one asshole who wants, I want my fucking old fashioned with buffalo trace, you have enough simple in your fridge to make it for that guy.
Yeah. There's always going to be, I mean, obviously you can't take away when you're doing something like this.
I mean, and typically, like, for a party, guys, we're doing, so, I mean, if you think about it, for a party, I'd probably batch 2 bottles, right? I'd probably batch 2 750s of this. So, you know, so 6.5 ounces of sugar. But still, I mean, you'd have enough simple laying around.
Yeah.
You know?
Usually when I'm at work and I'm making such big batches, I'll like take a whisk.
I'll take a ladle at that point. Just like a boat,
I do have a giant ladle somewhere. Maybe I'll keep it down here for that.
Don't need that for this purpose.
A boat oar? Hey, you know what? We could take one of those old bourbon barrels we have and make a big spoon out of it.
There you go.
Yeah. I love Elijah Craig's pops, by the way.
And then I'm going to do this whole bottle of bourbon. I'm just going to
dump that bitch in there.
Dump her in.
Yeah. So at this point, you got the bitters, you got the sugar, you got the bourbon. I mean, basically, that's an old fashioned in there.
Yep. Now, if I wanted to, just for the sake of argument and talking about it, if I wanted to add the water, what I figured out is that 25.5 ounces plus the 3.25 ounces of the syrup plus a 1/2 ounce of the bitters means I have a little bit more than 29 total ounces in this Cambro. And if I multiply that by 0.18, which is 18%, and that was the number for dilution.
For dilution that Raj,
that would get me to approximately 5.25 ounces of water. So if I wanted to do that, I would add 5.25 ounces of water, mix it all up, and then do that. But I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to just stir her around.
Yeah, stir her around, and then I'll make one. That's so. Look how like that's a whole bottle of liquor, guys. There's nothing in that Cambro. Troy, hold that Cambro up for the camera real quick. There's like fucking nothing in there. Look at that.
That's great.
It looks like your pee after a long night of drinking. You know.
So crazy.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Anyway.
Okay.
All right. Cool. Well, pop that over to the side. I'll come over there. I'll make one.
Okay.
And I'll just kind of talk through one, and then should I make multiples or just make one and one and we'll compare? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Let's just do it this way. So typically, like the recipe that we talked about, if you're making people old fashions at home, we'll probably post a couple videos on how to actually make proper, maybe even elevated old fashions, and then some riffs. These are bare bones, not American Legion bare bones.
Not bad bones.
Yeah, not
just bare bones.
Not like terrible. Yeah. And listen to previous episodes if you want to know what I mean, because typically, you know, there's citrus involved and peels and things like that. But making it old fashioned, right? So, what do you think? Like 2 dashes of Ango would probably be equivalent.
I would say 3.
3 dashes of Ango.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm just gonna take a normal mixing vessel. And actually, you know what I'll do, just for the sake of it. Got 2 old fashioned glasses lined up here. We'll take some clear large cubes. Pop in the glass.
It should be transported into a back into the Elijah Craig bottle. We could funnel it back in there.
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah.
Because what I'll do is I'll just pour them at the same time.
Yeah.
All right, so you said 3. You think 3 dashes?
I would say, yeah.
Yeah. 3 dashes of Ango. We're gonna do 1/4 ounce simple. Mm-hmm. This is basically the whole point of this, right? Is instead of making the old fashioned, we're just gonna fucking stir them for people. That's the whole point of what we're doing here. So.
Rather than measuring out things every single time.
Yeah.
Yep.
2 ounces of bourbon.
It'd be funny if you grabbed the wrong Elijah Craig bottle.
Yeah. Pro tip. Pour spout.
Don't use the 18 year.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
I was saying if you grabbed your batched one and
Or
poured it
that.
down.
Yeah, that too. Yeah.
And then give her a stir. And we'll season on. Get that nice and cold. Let's see. I'm curious. I wonder how different this is actually.
Me too.
Going to be.
Will it be any different? Will it matter? The point is we want it to be the exact same. That's the whole point of it, right?
Yeah, in a perfect world.
Yeah, that's the goal, right? We don't want to ruin the integrity of the drink, right?
Yeah.
Like that's what we're trying to avoid here.
How much you're diluting that right now is really
I'm not diluting it because I'm using a large cube.
Well, I mean,
so it's not diluting it as much as what like fridge ice would be.
That alone might be the difference.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's still the same ratios, right? So like, we're gonna find out. We're absolutely gonna find out. So now I'm gonna do Troy's. I'm gonna start at the same
amount.
Yep. 2 1/4, you think? That would make sense.
Yeah. Maybe the tiniest bit more than 2 1/4 if you're accounting for the bitters, but like such a negligible amount.
Yep, just a little bit more. This bottle smells great.
I might take that home.
Yeah, I mean, just think about that. 20 seconds compared to 3 minutes per old fashioned.
Yep.
Like,
Yeah.
And I am such a perfectionist when it comes to making drinks. If this actually works,
Yeah, I mean,
you better bet your fucking candy asses that I am never making another cocktail at a party ever again.
I mean, you made the same. You took about the same amount of effort to make a cocktail, and he made 25 of them.
Yeah, exactly right.
Or 12 of them, whatever.
Yeah.
Right.
It would be easy to make double the amount or triple the amount or however many. Just
So-
add another bottle.
So here, I mean, just looking at it, it looks like my fresh made old fashioned has just the slightest
A little bit more. Okay,
Yeah.
fair enough.
Just-
so maybe
just
2 and a
so we
half.
know.
Yeah. I
So
mean,
maybe 2.5 ounces.
2 and a half is what we serve at my bar.
Really?
Yeah.
That makes sense. Oh, that was a really shitty fucking peel job, jabroni. All right, cool. We'll give him a little bit of a nice little love butter, right? Get in there. Yeah. And if you want to use, you got that one guy who wants a cherry in his old fashioned. He just showed up from drinking Michelob's at the American Legion.
Drop it in there.
I like cherry on my old
Yeah,
fashioned.
I'm just saying. A nice cherry, though, not.
Yeah.
What you want? Yeah, I'll put a cherry in. You want me to put a cherry in?
No, it's gonna change everything.
We're putting a fucking cherry in now, all right?
Oh, hey, yo.
Hey, I even got a special spoon.
Got a cherry over there.
Just fucking cherries.
Cherry spoon?
I got a cherry spoon. Comes with my Starlino Maraschino.
Maraschino Charino.
I got the big boy cans at work.
Oh, do you?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I would just.
Industrial sized.
That's kind of awesome. Little cherry right in the.
You know what? I'm kind of sad you're adding a cherry now because I know we have to share it, and I'm a little sad about that. But
You can have the
I
cherries.
know it's okay.
I'm on a diet. You can have the cherries.
All right.
All right.
So with a little garnish, a little flair of garnish, obviously, but. All right. We got something.
You're eating the cherries. I'm licking the spoon.
All right.
Yeah, we'll put that spoon in the dishwasher.
Yeah. Put in the dump bucket. All right. So.
All right. Fresh made,
Okay.
batched. The batched one has a little bit more color to it.
It does, surprisingly.
Surprisingly. I'm going to get in here first.
Okay.
Do the fresh made.
I'm just going to start this way then.
No.
Oh, you want to do all start this?
I think, yeah, that makes
All right.
sense, yeah.
I'm just excited. Tastes fresh. Made.
Tastes freshly made.
It just tastes like a good old fashioned.
It's a good old fashioned.
Nothing fancy.
Very good.
No frills. Just good old fashioned.
All right. Here's the
Batch
batch boy.
Jinx. Got some. I'm still vanilla-y. Well, I can say pretty confidently they are different.
They are different. I think the bitter ratio in the batched one is more.
Higher?
Yeah, I think it's higher. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think I'd probably split bitter types. I think I'd probably do orange and aromatic.
That's typical what I do on the fly.
Yeah.
So do we determine the bitter ratio is the same?
I mean, you can kind of tell by, it's math, right? So everyone sucks at math these days. But, judging by what he said, I used 3 dashes of bitters, which is...
Dashes are different for everybody, too.
That's the problem.
Well, so here's the thing, and this is why buying bitter dashers for your home bar is a huge pro tip, because they're way more accurate when you use bitters out of an actual bitter dasher instead of out of like the bitters bottle that has the little plastic thing on it.
Yeah.
So I used it out of a bitter dasher. I used 3. He poured exact ounces according to a mathematical equation. You can see in the color, the opaqueness of it, he definitely has more bitters in his than mine, and I could taste more bitters in his. But here's the question.
Yeah, besides that.
Here's the question. Is this acceptable?
Well, let's see.
Well, here's the thing. Even if it is not acceptable in terms of your palate for bitterness, all you have to do is just, add slightly less bitters.
Well,
add like...
The questions we're asking, is this acceptable? I have a reputation. People are coming over. They want my drinks. I batched it today so I can hang out with people more.
Yeah.
Is this acceptable? And then also, is it diluted enough? I stirred it the same amount I stirred this. We didn't add water to this.
They're both temperature-wise about the same.
That's the other thing about batching cocktails. I'm scared of adding water to batch cocktails. I would be scared of that.
Me too. Yeah.
It's scary.
Because again, you can't take away.
You can't take it away. I'd rather be able to stir it longer or let it sit in a glass for a second and then it's perfect.
Yeah, I think you have more control over the final product without adding dilution.
I would say, if anything, because now that I'm sipping this, sip this again.
I just did.
Yeah.
It's fucking delicious.
Obviously, over the course of time, that ice cube.
So stir it longer, maybe.
I think I think a little bit of dilution or stirring it longer, or just lowering the bitters a little bit. I think I would be pretty happy with that. Honestly, it is different. I think the dash is the measurement. I think we're
probably missing.
Gonna notice.
Yeah. But I think moral of the story, I think it's acceptable.
Yeah.
I think it's acceptable, and I think I would do it.
For hours of your time?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, and again, instead of a half ounce of bitters, you could do, take a look.
Quarter ounce orange, quarter ounce Ango.
Or that.
Yeah.
Yeah, or that. I was just saying you could do, somewhere between a quarter and a half ounce.
Yeah.
Like whatever that sweet spot is in between of bitters overall, just so it's a little bit less bitter. But the point is that each and every drink that you make out of that batch is going to be exactly the same.
Right, and that's the difference.
Yeah,
that's true. Yeah,
because that drink, Anthony's drink is going to differ every single time you make it. Most likely.
Yeah.
With just based on dashes.
Well, based on
taking skill out of the equation. Just saying this is the most consistent. That way you can, if you like less bitters or fewer bitters, whatever, you can just have fewer, and that'll be your drink, and that's always the exact same. Which there's something to be said about that. So
cool. Well, I think that solves it, guys. Guys, thank you so much for stopping by. Hopefully you got something out of that you can, take away and make your life a little bit easier if you are that guy. If you like what you see, or if you have an idea of maybe something, you'd want to see, drop it in the comments below. Once a month, we're going to hopefully try to add to this Elevating Your Home Bar series on our YouTube channel there. So if there's something you maybe be interested on how we would do it, just drop it in the comments. Definitely appreciate your time, and make sure you're subscribing while you're here. On that note, does anyone have anything?
Nope.
All right. Troy, lead us out.
You lead.